Good afternoon. My name is Patrick Burkhart. This oral report is for HIUS 512 American Revolution. Today, my report is going to be on Molly Pitcher. Molly Pitcher is a figure from American history in the Revolutionary War. As was custom during that time, many wives of soldiers, having enlisted, followed them from camp to camp and to battle, cooking, sewing, and tending to the wounded, and on the battlefield carried supplies, water, and anything that was needed by the men. The term Molly Pitcher has been identified as a wife of an artillery soldier who took over the cannon duties after her husband had fallen and worked the cannon until she herself was injured. While the story of Molly Pitcher was a common one among the troops throughout the war, the memoirs of different soldiers after the war tell the real story. The journals and memoirs of countless soldiers of all ranks tell the same story. A woman stepping up and taking over a position after someone was injured or killed. Molly Pitcher did not come into commonplace until around 1876, when citizens of Carlisle, Pennsylvania, claimed to have the woman that the story was based off of buried in their cemetery. In reality, the real identity of Molly Pitcher has never been 100% identified. While not completely confirmed as the real Molly Pitcher, the most widely accepted person would be Mary Ludwig Hayes. Mary was married to William Hayes, who was assigned to the 4th Continental Artillery Battery at the Battle of Monmouth in New Jersey. As stated before, many wives followed their husbands throughout the war. Mary Ludwig Hayes was no different. During the battle, it was her job to bring water to both men and artillery batteries to cool the cannons between shots. Molly was a common name for Mary at the time, and since she was carrying water, so came the phrase, Molly, pitcher! It would have been yelled by the artillery when they needed to cool the cannons. Emily Type, in her Prologue magazine article, Will the Real Molly Pitcher Please Stand Up, states the name Molly Pitcher is a collective, generic term, much like the term G.I. Joe, and serves as a common label for perhaps hundreds or even thousands of women who served not only as ammunition wives, they manned guns and firing guns, but also in the army and colonial militias. While with the Battle of Monmouth, Mary Ludwig Hayes entered the war on record on June 28, 1778, when she signed up for 2 years after her husband to serve with Captain Francis Proctor's company in the Pennsylvania Artillery. In Robert Leakey's book, George Washington's War, The Saga of American Revolution, Mary was described by the men in her company as a 22-year-old illiterate pregnant woman who smoked and chewed tobacco and swore as well as any of the male soldiers. Mary had endeared herself to the troops because of her unusual courage and hard work under fire. During the Battle of Monmouth, Mary Ludwig Hayes earned the nickname Molly Pitcher for performing the exhaustive work of supplying battle-fatigued and wounded men with drinking water and the cannons with water to cool them during combat. When her husband collapsed from heat stroke, though some sources say that he was injured in battle, Mary took his place at the cannon, performing skillfully and heroically. Like so many other patriots, tradition states that she received a personal thanks from George Washington. But, as with so many stories at that time, the truth is somewhere in the middle. With that said, there are several versions of this story as well. Either George Washington merely complimented Mary Hayes, thanked her, or bestowed some reward on her. In his memoir, Walter Blumenthal states that Washington gave Mary a gold piece and promoted her to sergeant for her bravery during the Battle of Monmouth. However, there is no evidence in the military records of her having been promoted. Identifying the real Molly Pitcher is further obscured by the fact that Margaret Corbin served in the same artillery regiment as Mary Ludwig Hayes. She and her husband John served under Captain Francis Proctor in the 1st Company of the Pennsylvania Artillery. Margaret Corbin, the first woman pensioned by the Continental Congress, holds the unique honor of being the only soldier in the Revolutionary War buried at the Military Academy at West Point, New York. Patriotic literature commonly refers to Margaret Corbin as Captain Molly. William Henry Eggle, in his book Some Pennsylvania Women During the War and the Revolution, states that at the Battle of Fort Washington, when John Corbin was killed, Margaret took his place immediately on the firing line and was wounded in the engagement with the British. She was then captured by the British, and she was subsequently released and reassigned to the Corps of Invalids at West Point, performing guard duty. Her name is also listed on the discharge rolls of the Invalids Regiment's rolls for April 1783. Ultimately, there were thousands of women that ended up helping the cause of freedom that were never documented. Whether these others were part of the Molly Pitcher legacy is lost to the ages. While Mary Ludwig Hayes is the most documented for being Molly Pitcher, the fact that others contributed much the same as she did, the fact alone means that if Mary Ludwig Hayes had not been picked as the real Molly Pitcher, then one of the others probably would have. With the information already presented, the questions asked by Milo are simple to answer. Question number 1. If the story of Molly Pitcher did not exist, do you think a woman of some other profession would have filled the shoes of a female revolutionary representative? Answer, yes. With everyone all in for the cause of freedom, if it was not Molly Pitcher, then somewhere or sometime during the war, a woman would step up and do something extraordinary. Question number 2. How important was it to have a famous female for the American Revolution? Answer, it was very important as the cause of freedom was bigger than just the selected few men involved. With a woman in the fight, it created a scenario that encouraged others to step up as well. Question number 3. Does the actual person, Mary Ludwig Hayes, still hold importance in the famous icon of Molly Pitcher? The answer, the belief in a thing is what motivates individuals to do great things. As Molly Pitcher, as an example to our future women and girls, showing that nothing can stop you from achieving great things, gives them an icon to hold on to and to look up to. Question number 4. Why haven't writings, sometimes negative, challenged the validity of the legend or affected the public's praise of Molly Pitcher? The answer, though Mary Ludwig Hayes is the main pick for the role, as previously stated, it could have been anyone. Even with negative writings on the subject, the mystique and legendary status of the icon can never be diminished. Molly Pitcher has been and will continue to be a shining example for future generations. Thank you.